Yeah, hello people of the internet. We're back here with the sheep again, and yeah, so we're going to show you how to butcher it this time.
Yeah, so as you can see, I hung it up in one leg so it will come apart. I just cut down here to open up so I can saw.
Yeah, just explain about the type of saws you use as well.
Yeah. I'm just opening up here to make it nice and easy. And as you can see, this little knife, it's a real beauty.
Just like to say we're not being paid by anybody to say that.
Right, okay. Just to get my hands free, I'll just cut down 6 ribs. Do 6 ribs on each side. Then I'll remove that part that I just cut off. Yeah, as you can see, I would have taken the neck off first, but I forgot that today. So take the neck off before you do the sawing down the back. And that is what you want to see, just a nice wide line down the back, nice even on the chops. Yeah, so when we get it up like this, I'm just cutting off the pieces that are hard to keep clean. And in this case here, we're actually mincing that up for the chickens because it's good for them to have a bit of protein.
So when you're cutting through sections like this with your saw, you don't want to cut the meat with your saw.
You try and aim for these white spots where the ribs come in. That's where we're cutting. And preferably use the knife for the meat. Just go through the bone with the saw. Right. Just to tidy up the front part. I don't like a lot of fat, and everybody might be different, but this is just how I do it because my family don't appreciate a lot of fat. So I cut the bone off. Some of you might prefer to leave the rib on, that's okay.
So this is the front leg?
This is the front leg. And you might think I leave a little bit of meat on the bone, but I got working dogs and they got to live too. Yeah, so this part here we give to the dogs so they can have a taste of it. Once you got it out like this, I'll remove excess fat. Chicken bucket. And you see up the front here, there's a big lump of fat. It's just, there's a gland in it as well. There's not really much meat in that. It will make it not very nice if that's left on when you roast it. You can leave it on, but it's just a hunk of fat really.
It makes it a real like muttony sort of smell.
Yeah, it does. Right, so then you just turn over and see if there should happen to be anything on that's not desirable, and just give it a little trim off. Chicken bucket. And because I love eating the shanks, I think they're very, very tasty. So I cut the shanks off. For my family, I just leave the front quarter like this, and it makes a beautiful roast. The shank, I just tidy up. Just so that it's more presentable on the table, I cut some of the bone off. You will see too, quite often it's not easy to keep this part of the bone clean when we do home killing. So yeah, it's better to just to the dogs. Yeah, so here I'm just trimming off the excess fat, anything that I didn't get out when I cleaned the sheep out. It's a bit easier when it's cut in half.
It's also a lot easier when you let it cool.
Yep. And
down as well.
The fat is nice and set now. We had a nice cool night for it. That's quite important. You do not choose a hot night.
Unless you have a chiller.
Yeah. Right, so we're cutting through the chops. We usually cut 6 rib chops and 5 loin chops. That's the rack of chops there. I'll just deal with this first. Back leg. Just to make it look presentable. It's not over important, but I like just cutting that bone off the tail. When you're packing it in bags in the freezer, it can be a little bit of a nuisance having that sticking out there. So there's really nothing on it. And then you look for the joint in here. You see how the skin comes up? There's a natural joint about there. So that's the shank from the back leg. Again, trimming it up. couple of nice presentable shanks. And the back leg, if you're just a small family, you might want to split it in half, but in this case here we want it for a big family meal, so we are leaving it whole.
Sweet, so that's your roast there, your back leg roast.
Yeah, and I feel we don't like too much fat on, so we're just trimming a little bit of the excess off. But make sure you leave a little bit on for cooking. It's also a time if you have been unfortunate to get a bit of grass, anything on, that's a good time when it's much easier to take off when the fat is cold. Just do a nice tidy job. Okay. Cut through the chops. The loin I find easier just turning it around because often there's a little bit of an angle on, so try and make the size of flap here the same on every chop. So that's your loin chops.
Alright, so here on the table we've got half a sheep. So we've got the front roasts. Yeah, obviously they're good for roasting or for baking. And then you've got the back roast, which is what you'd normally use for like a Sunday roast or something. And then you've got your shanks. They're good like for baking or for soups or anything like that. And then you've got the neck chops, they're awesome if you braise them. Then we have the loin chops, and they're good for either like for frying or barbecues, or if you wanted to if you wanted to bake them in the oven or anything. And then essentially the same with the ribs. And then we've got these pieces here that you could use for like the spare ribs and things like that. So obviously this is only half a sheep, but all you have to do is exactly the same on the other half. So once again I'd like to thank my father because he's awesome, and yeah, we'll see you guys next time. So here we have the roast at the end of it all. So it starts off as a sheep, ends up as a roast. Yeah.